It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast as we talk the latest property news for you as heard on iHeartRadio, and we do that 7 days a week, also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon. Hope your weekend is going well up to a Sunday, the 26th day for May. And if you are in the south of Australia, I reckon it's probably the best weekend of your life if you've woken up knowing the news $150 million of Powerball is all yours. It's a little bit too much though, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. That could be divided up into 15 parcels of $10 million each. But somebody has got the entire pot of gold for this weekend. And talking of gold, coming up in just a moment, we're going to reflect back on another busy week, including talking to Margaret Lomas on Monday about Jeff Bezos's fractional ownership model. And on Tuesday, we spoke to Veronica Morgan there in Sydney, talking about people and the ways that they are saving for property, including OnlyFans account and generating some income. So we'll talk about that. And Carly Frost from Wine Country, in South Australia. I wonder if that is where the Powerball went to. She was here talking about the amazing growth along the coast. If you're that winner and you're not living on the coast, you soon could be. Nick Hernandez, he was here talking about buying an entire town in San Diego, which was pretty unique. And Ptolemy Stevens on the Gold Coast is talking about just how the luxury market is in warp drive. So that is all coming up next on our Sunday.
Decode the property market with insider knowledge and insights to better navigate your real estate journey on the Real Estate Podcast.
Yeah, the fractional investing, it's something that a lot of people are looking at, and I found this quite interesting with Bezos. What do you say?
You know that I'm the kind of person who always likes to look at the risks before I look at the opportunities. So it's going to come as no surprise that I'll probably issue a couple of warnings on this kind of thing first. So first of all, we've got to be careful that we don't get into an investment because we think there's a good name backing it. There's been a couple of incidences in Australia even where a couple of big well-known sportsmen backed an investment program that subsequently ended up to be a bit of a lemon and a lot of people lost money. So a big name doesn't guarantee that an investment is going to work out okay for you. I guess being Bezos, at least if everybody lost all their money, he could probably pay them back out of his own pocket, but I think that's quite unlikely to happen.
Yeah, it's a good point in terms of well-known names because, you've only got to look as recently as the crypto guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, with that FTX, which went down the gurgler. He's in jail for decades, I think. So, you've got to be very careful. You can't just say, Margaret, Bezos is a guarantee.
Exactly. And it isn't a guarantee, and it's unlikely he'd be guaranteeing the investment either. These things are set up in such a way that there's a lot of structures put in place to separate Bezos, I would say, from the entire investment so that if anything goes wrong, he's not held personally liable for that. So you definitely can't have a look at an investment and invest in it because somebody is seeming to back it. They generally don't back it. They just put their name to it. That's a different thing entirely.
Let's explore together the power of real estate. We keep you better informed and updated.
The same person went on to talk about people using platforms like OnlyFans to help them afford to get into the property market. I'm just curious, out of all of the people that you're engaged with, are any of them on TikTok doing OnlyFans to sort of supplement the deposit?
I don't know anyone personally doing that, but why not? I guess if that's something that appeals to you and you feel like there's a market out there for whatever you're offering, then why not? I certainly do know a lot of people that have taken a second job for a period of time to help their saving or accelerate their savings. Often people might have a side hustle as well. I remember back to when I was a first home buyer a long time ago now, but yes, I had a second job for a long time. So that in itself is not unusual. I guess it's a little bit more novel, someone deciding to create an OnlyFans page, but whatever rocks their boat, I say.
Yeah, well, it appears that might be taking place. And what about the vendor advocacy? I know that you wanted to talk about this because sales agents either love or hate these particular vendor advocates.
Interesting, actually, because I wear a few different hats. I have a buyer's agency in Sydney called Good Deeds, and over the years, and originally I was a sales agent as well, and over the years we've had increasing demand for our vendor advocacy service, and what a vendor's advocate does is actually effectively holds the hand and guides a vendor through the process of choosing a selling agent and keeps the bastards honest, if you want to keep it that way. Some sales agents are amazing and fantastic at doing what they do. And so our role is to make sure that our clients are finding those agents to work with. But also there are some areas where maybe it's not necessarily the case where there are a plethora of great agents to choose from. And certainly in our role, we help people choose agents and then work with those agents to maximise the outcome and the sales price for those properties, but also help the vendor understand that they need to be able to be prepared to meet the market if they're going to put their property on the market, and also help them interpret what's being, the information that's given to them from the sales agent as well, so they can make better decisions. So we're getting more and more involved in this, but it's interesting because I'm seeing more and more buyers agents decide to do this vendor advocacy work. And what alarms me, and I can understand sales agents taking umbrage to this, because a lot of them don't know how to sell a property, and all they're doing is clipping the ticket. They're all trying to see an opportunity to make money from a referral and putting them sort of a banner on their door to say, I'm a vendor's advocate as well, and actually get in the way and can stuff up some deals by really not knowing what they're doing and trying to be a gatekeeper to that owner as well, and really making life difficult, I guess, for sales agents and for vendors. So it's it's an interesting area. And as I said, I certainly am seeing a lot more inquiry for our services in this space. And I'm noticing a mixed reception when we're talking to sales agents because of this. Have you come across this?
Yeah, it's not something that we've actually spoken about before, but the question that many vendors listening right now might have, Veronica, is when you say clipping the ticket, how much do they clip the ticket? So what is the commission rate split, if you like, for the advocate?
This is actually really interesting because in Victoria, the vendors advocacy as a concept really started in Victoria. I actually first came across it myself. I used to co-host a television show on Foxtel called Location Australia. And we actually purchased a property in Point Cook, and it was being handled through a vendors advocate. And so we had to put our offers, all of our inquiries were made to the vendor's advocate, not to the agent, which I found really strange that they were completely in between us as the buyers and the agent. And I subsequently discovered that that's a really common thing in Victoria, where people would engage a vendor's advocates to operate in such a way. And I've spoken to a few that charge up to 50% of the sales fee.
Wow.
That's quite a big chunk. Now, certainly on the other end of that, and certainly I have not come across anybody charging that in other states. I've heard of 30%, but that's really the maximum. 20-25 is more common. And in fact, it's quite commonly accepted amongst, real estate agents that 20% referral fee is acceptable. So in a way, a vendor's advocate that just charges 20%, well, that's they're getting a bonus if they're a good advocate that can actually help them communicate with the vendor and the best outcome for that property, and they get the best sales result and help the vendor recognise the best buyer, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of ways that a good advocate can work in conjunction with a sales agent. But so there's quite a big disparity in terms of the split.
Gain insights with exclusive conversations from real estate professionals about buying, selling and investing across Australia.
Oh, it's a bizarre world we live in, but good on her, I guess. I have heard of this happening. There's a girl that takes the old picture of the feet. Apparently that's something that they do, bizarrely enough.
Yeah, it's a feet fetish. I don't really understand that fetish, but apparently, I mean, that's an easy way of generating money, isn't it? Let's take a photo of our feet, put it up on the site, and people pay money for it.
Oh, it's an interesting thing that anyone would want to see a picture of a foot, but we're all different.
That is true. Yeah, people can be so creative and so determined, so probably single-minded when it comes to the property market. All sorts of ways of making that deposit up and getting into the property market. Now, let's talk about you because you're located in the southern end of Adelaide. Now, this is an area, if we go back 2 or 3 years ago, was very well undervalued, but people have since really latched on to the secret and you have been growing ever since. So just perhaps sort of geographically, just to paint the picture exactly where you are.
Yeah, so I live in Port Noarlunga. I grew up here as a kid. You know, it's a beautiful spot. The beaches down here are just gorgeous. There's some surf. It's got a really cool vibe with cafes and not far from here is the McLaren Vale wine region. So there's always something to do. It's one of those areas that's busy enough and there's always things to do, but it's not too busy. So it's a bit more of a relaxed lifestyle, say, than your Glenelg or your Henley Beach or your city, but it's still got enough to do.
Tell us a little bit about just how much that growth has really taken off, because Adelaide, it has been one of the stories, one of the talking points for the last 2 years, really, just in terms of people moving into the region, highlighting the fact of just how much your area has grown since post-COVID. And at the moment, you were telling me that you're into a little bit of renovations. I suspect there's probably a number of people doing that now, given the price, the way that the property has escalated in price. So what are you doing with your reno?
Yeah, so we bought another property and moved in going back about 4 weeks ago now. We swore we'd never do this again, but we are adding a big addition and a swimming pool. So we bought a property in our dream location. The house didn't really work for the family. We've hired an architect and a really great builder to help us through the process. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how it turns out. It's going to be about 6 months process. We've never hired an architect before, but I think it's the best thing we've done.
Now, just coming back to these larger blocks, like for those people that don't know the area, just how large are these blocks that you're talking about?
Yeah, so look, we've got blocks that we're selling at the moment, 2 of them that are over 900 square. We've had 1,200 square metre blocks. The average block across like Port Noarlunga South, Seaford, Moana, where we tend to work, is around that 700 to 800. We do come across some of the bigger ones also.
Yep, it's certainly very unique. You know, not every day a whole town comes up on the market, especially here in California. And what really makes this one, you know, extremely unique is its location. You know, it's strategically located, you know, inside of an hour's drive of San Diego proper, a major city here in Southern California, surrounded by the beautiful Laguna Mountains and a beautiful lake there as well. And it really has a beautiful, serene feel to it.
Just recently, we have been talking about fractional buying properties. This would be an ideal one for some company to bring in and turn it into a fractional situation where people can spend $100, $200, $300, $400, $1,000, get a slice of the town.
Yep, that's certainly a unique idea, and we're open, you know, to hearing investors who have, you know, some unique plans for what they want to do with the property. Fractional ownership can definitely be one of them. Another unique idea that we've been proposing to buyers would be to purchase this town and then further divide up the parcels into smaller parcels and then sell them off individually. allowing some of the local residents to get a piece of ownership?
Well, we can see it on the ground from the numbers. It's very evident that, overnight or when you wake up in the morning as an agent, you look at your inbox, and I must say that the volume of inquiries that we are receiving is certainly unprecedented, certainly in the 15 plus years that I've been a luxury agent on the Gold Coast. And there's no doubt, I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but also in particular for our overseas buyers. The Olympic Games in Brisbane in 2032 is certainly a large draw card that certainly we are benefiting from as well by just being down the road on the Gold Coast. And this year, price per square metre on the Gold Coast, particularly for luxury apartment sales, are now breaking the high 20s, if not the 30s in some suburbs. So the price per square metre has almost doubled, certainly in the last 5 years, which is certainly a statistic that no one would have thought was coming.
And what are the buyers doing with the properties? Because I think the Gold Coast is one of those markets where there could be something slightly different happening with the buyers of these luxury properties, not necessarily all the time maybe buying to live in. So perhaps tell us, what are people doing in terms of buying luxury properties? Are they buying to live, or is there something a little different going on?
So a lot of sectors have different ratios. However, on average, we're seeing somewhere between 30 to 40% of our luxury sales to purchasers utilising them as their principal place of residence, so their new home. However, the surprising statistic that we're seeing, and just seems to be increasing, is that close to 60% of our luxury purchasers, we're finding that they are securing these properties for their luxury holiday homes, where they'll lock them up for the majority of the year and just come and spend time with them, on the odd occasion with friends and family, and not rent them out to generate a return.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.